basic computer stuff to email to WordPress, Excel spreadsheets, the G Suite, Google Suites, all those sorts of options that they do have. Microsoft Word, Excel, I don't know if they do PowerPoints or not. Last I knew they did QuickBooks and other various accounting, so that these are classes that are free and can be taken over and over and over again. But that's what the National Regional Equity Center does. Does that answer your?
Yeah, I was just hoping you'd point out the QuickBooks and the WordPress. Those are really valuable classes to be out there for free to businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they're also very, very open to hearing what would be needed or what kind of classes would be most desirable so that they can create a curriculum around it. So feel free to reach out.
So I'm going to close. Are there any other questions or comments that folks have? Insights? Yeah, Dan.
You guys have done an amazing job.
Oh.
Everything that we want to accomplish moving forward would not be possible without this project.
Yeah.
All the ideas we have about moving this community forward, we wouldn't be able to do it unless we had broadband. Everything that we're trying to build on, this needs to be done first. And now that the project is completed, hopefully the ball moving a little bit faster now, getting our communities to grow and prosper and everything else. We needed this.
Thanks, man. I think this slide, I didn't read the fine print here, which you probably can't read, but it kind of sums it up. And when we talk about housing, or we talk about tourism, or we talk about other opportunities for collaboration, this total project for MCA and Fidium, and with about 65,000 of it focused on early planning, 10.9 million public-private investment benefiting 2,053 premises across the combined region, which means that an investment of $5,300 for each household or business on the existing electricity grid. That's what it's taken to do this, which is just pretty amazing. And 77% of those households are in areas of low to moderate income. So our challenge is to make sure that those low and moderate income households and people are connected and have the ability to take advantage of the infrastructure. And with that, you sure can.
I also just want to point out, and this is a bit of a nod to the partnership that you all ended up with Consolidated and Fidium. This isn't the technology, Simon pointed out DSL. You're not going to be sitting in this room 10 years from now, 15 years from now, having the same conversation because the technology degraded over time. You're not going to have this conversation anymore. And that's what Simon was pointing out about it being scalable. They can increase with software and hardware upgrades because of the demand. As your communities grow, as your needs as a user grow and change over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, I can't even imagine what it's going to be in 20, right? The network will be able to support it. We haven't seen networks be able to support that type of evolution and rapid growth ever, not in rural Maine. And while there are going to be areas in the state where we're going to have to invest in alternative technologies because they're just so rural, we have locations where there's one person and just to connect them would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. But in an area like this, with a partnership like this, with the commitment from the communities, this type of scale, particularly for townships that don't often have that same capacity to be represented, to be grouped in with larger communities and really be seen as a region, not individual parts. It really matters that it was be invested in fiber technology because you don't have to have this conversation anymore. You have the privilege and luxury of forgetting about it. And so hopefully when your kids are in this room 20, 30, 40 years from now, and they're talking about all the things that they want to do as communities and what the future looks like for them, internet access is never going to be the thing that they talk about. They're going to be focused on all of the so whats, because you all already dealt with the biggest barrier of all, that thread across climate, social, economic resilience. You already dealt with it, you did the hard thing. And so I just wanted to point that out, that it is a little bit different, and I don't know if without these efforts, without these partnerships, if under B funding, our future funding, if we would have seen fiber to the premise universal service throughout this area in this way. So like I said earlier, right place, right time, right partners, right funding, all of it coming together. And I think that it's just incredible that you all in this area get to have better connectivity than I have in Maine, than most of my colleagues have in Portland. You know, they're working on infrastructure that was put in place 15 years ago. Some of my worst calls were people in Portland. Elaine can talk to that too, right? And so it's incredible that you all aren't catching up anymore. You're not waiting for someone to take notice and bring it to you. You did it, you brought it here, now we all get to catch up to you.
I gotta expand.
Thank you, everybody. Charles has got a few closing remarks.
So, thank you all. We're getting towards the end of the program, and just will take a few minutes. Actually, because we did everything in plenary today, we don't have that usual report out from all the breakouts. But we thought this might be a chance for people to just share things that are top of mind, just in these last 5-10 minutes before we move outside and do the walking tour. And I just wondered if there's anything that anyone really wanted to share with the group.
I would like to share that I think there's a lot of opportunity as well in remote work, which we talked about today. And right now at Washington Community College, we are offering some free courses in remote hybrid business fundamentals, how to lead and supervise a remote team, and professionals in working in a remote world. And I think that's an area where, you know, there's a lot of growth opportunity, and I would just put that out there. If you have interest, go on our website, right on our workforce division, and you'll see those opportunities and courses are offered for free right now.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I was struck in the East Grand School overview of where they are and how the 30 years of their direction. I was reminded of that today, and how the coming together of those children identifying with place, with where they're from, together with the capabilities from an education perspective that are going to just grow and grow and grow for them, together with housing conundrum, which, if solved or improved upon, would allow those kids in their future to either stay here or to go away for something that they need, but feel like they can come back. So I think if the region is focused on the kids and what they need in order to excel, and having added infrastructure for them to come home to when they're young adults, that is all around this region. That is what everybody here wants. That's what they care most about. And I think the ingredients are there. Just we need another major public-private investment of many millions of dollars in order to build homes.
And I'll jump in on that, because one reflection I had, particularly around broadband, is the importance of local efforts and philanthropy, you know, that long-term investment, but also federal resources. The scale of rebuilding rural economies requires that $5,000 per household. I mean, that's what it takes to build a road, or to extend a rail line, or to do the infrastructure that makes the modern economy possible. And I think broadband's a great example of that. And we're really fortunate to live in a time when, the elected, in Congress and the legislature and other elected officials have prioritized this.
The broadband story reminded me of the definition of hope, being that you have, and collective hope is what this story is about, that you have a goal and that the community came together, these partners came together and formed a collective set of goals, and then they found the means and then created a pathway and pulled in the resources and the partnerships that they needed to make it happen, and that it created a sense of momentum and forward movement. And hopefully we can learn that lesson on the housing side, right, and start to do exactly that. And it was noted that that partnerships and it is a particular strength of rural Maine. We do this really, really well. And this is a really excellent example of what you can accomplish when you do that.
I just want to add to that, on top of that drive, is that passion and wanting to save their community. They never gave up. I've been working for Chi-Saving Bank for 29 years, but I've been in the philanthropy role for 7. And I've worked with artists, I think, all 7. And she proved to me the first year she was going to do what she said. So when she called me, I'm like, okay, what are you doing now? What are you going to do next? So I'm like, housing is the next step for this group who never gave up and made broadband happen. So congratulations on that. And I just want to add that we have a new grant this year called the Workforce Development Grant. Municipalities are able to apply for it. It's not based on low income like a community development grant. It's based on workforce development programming. It has 3 awards, a $25,000, a $15,000, and a $10,000, which is higher than we normally do for our grant cycles. It opens November 11th. It closes November 22nd. You have 2 weeks. Guidelines are going out there this week. There's a written portion that will all be scored and go to the giving committee, and then there's a digital portion. You can do Team or Zooms, whichever works best for you. And you're going to go in front of our SLT members and pitch what your workforce development program is, and then we'll make the awards by the end of the year. So I'm very excited about this. This has been a dream of mine for a few years, and I look forward to seeing all the applications, hopefully, from many people this year. Proud.
So as we wrap up today, there are a few people I'd like to thank. One is artists in the town of Danforth. Pulled this together really from the first time that Chris and I spoke and tried to move this idea forward, and we couldn't have done it without your help. I also want to thank the Danforth Fire Department, which helped us with parking this morning, and a huge thank you to the Danforth Livable Community Center. And then finally, I'd like to thank our finance and admin team at SCEC, in particular Thea, who just have worked tirelessly on this for the last few months. And with that, I'd like to say thank you and wrap up kind of the formal part of the program today. And then we'll be moving to a walking tour that will include the Fishway and at least point to the pavilion as well. And I believe that artists and Kyle Burdick from Baskehegan will be leading that. So thank you all.